892nd contact Wednesday, 10th of July, 2024, 8:53.
Hello, Edward. My friend, I am here unusually because I have to deliver to you the orders, changes, and decisions of the Playaran Council that have arisen as a result of the queries and the necessary explanations. But my coming here is exclusively for this reason, because I have to abide by the instructions of the Council and only visit you again regularly when you have recovered to such an extent that the burden is bearable for you again. Arleon is also endeavoring with some helpers from his crew.
Whether that brings something is quite doubtful, but I am happy to be surprised.
We will see and experience how it will be. But on behalf of the Playaran Council, I now have to explain that the directive can be fully comprehended on the basis of all the fathomed cognitions to date. As our clarifications ordered by the Council have shown, extensions to various requirements have become necessary. Consequently, various and necessary extensions have been decided. I have to explain this as follows, according to these notes, which are additionally inserted here into that which already exists and will be relayed by me. That which needs to be explained explicitly at the beginning of all explanations concerns the following. Preceding regulations and also the following regulations are not to be treated as minuted facts, and are therefore also not to be listed in the minutes, because they are the Council's direct instructions. Obviously, it is necessary to consider and regulate further things, namely as a consequence of the fact that the sense of community among the FIGU Association members is so foreign and also incomprehensible that further explanations regarding a community and explanations of the leadership as well as of the handling and behavior of a community are required. Therefore, in addition to Part 1, which is cited once again and supplemented here, the following has to be set forth and explained. These are the Playaran Council's direct instructions, which are to be integrated into the rules and statutes of the FIGU Association, and indeed unalterably true to the letter for all time into the future and for the existence of the FIGU Association. But what's going on there? Because I can see on the monitor that trees and bushes are being loaded onto the tractor trailer. Earlier, I saw that the 2 enclosures in the chicken yard were being cut bare against my instructions. Also, we did not register any knowledge of a community order announcing and authorizing this for either occurrence.
I don't know anything regarding the trees and the bushes, so I have to ask Jacobus, who I will call in a minute. Hold on, I am phoning the kitchen. Madeline should be there, and she can call Jacobus, who is with the tractor. Unfortunately, it was obviously a misunderstanding that everything in the chicken yard was cut to the ground.
That with the trees and the shrubs is a violation of the Playaran Council's decision, which on the 6th of July.
Here comes Jacobus, and I will quickly intercept him when he is at the door of Ava's office.
The Council's instructions ought to be followed, because these alone guarantee that the FIGU Association will be led into the distant future and will have stability as a community. That requires that the Council's instructions are followed amply and are kept.
Of course, Jacobus told me that. This, even though it was clearly explained in the hall that from Saturday. Sorry, wait, that was only at the meeting in the evening when Bernadette announced the Council's instructions. Nobody could have known then. So that's it with the trees and the bushes and the mowing in the chicken yard.
I also did not think of that, but somehow or other with the work meeting. But now we should not talk about that. Therefore to the following, which was decided by the Council.
This introductory notice is to be included as an introduction at the start in the rules and statutes.
A. With immediate effect from today, July 6, 2024. Only the decisions resulting from the voting of the FIGU Association community shall be valid with regard to orders, works, regulations, elections and tasks, errands, and so forth, unless as Billy Edward Albert Meyer has directly and personally given instructions regarding these. being the financier, arranger, author, founder, and administrator of the FIGU Association and its property, goods and assets, who from the very beginning in his thinking and actions corresponded without exception to the sense and purpose of a community. B. This player and council directive is absolutely essential and necessary to ensure, comply with and maintain the FIGU Association community in the long term, namely expanding itself financially, in an orderly form and progressively. This stipulates that in the future, the FIGU Association community always decides unanimously on everything and anything relevant to be determined by the community, through which an individual is prevented from seizing might over the FIGU Association community and misleadingly leading it astray, and to its downfall at his or her own discretion and will. C. Age-old experience proves that an individual should never make decisions and have them carried out, because such action leads to dependence, submissiveness, unpeace, envy, hatred and revenge, and so forth, and never finds permanence. Therefore, only joint deliberations of a community and resulting decisions and proper actions and modes of behavior guarantee a vindication and lasting success and progress.
Mentality, attitude and behavior of the members in the name of the FIGU Association community, internally and externally.
A. Privately, the members of the FIGU Association community are absolutely free in their doing, not doing and thinking, acting and behavior, but every member of the FIGU Association behaves absolutely neutrally at all times in the community and in representing it internally or externally. Members of the FIGU Association shall not engage verbally, in written form or electronically, and so forth, in the name of the FIGU Association community, in a political, religiously conditioned, conspiracy theoretical form, nor in esoteric, satanic or any other sectarian lying, nor in any ideologies that are unrealistic, nor in any worldly belief-based form, such as racism, incitement to hatred and populism. Rather, they shall remain and behave absolutely neutrally in every form, completely true to the FIGU Association community mentality.
To be listed in the rules and statutes.
1. A statutory community of an association is a oneness in harmony, which is maintained by all members of the association, namely consisting of all committed female and male members, to which belong also the persons of the Presidency, the Treasury, and the Secretary's office. That is to say, the minute-taking, that is, the office of Secretary. 2. Sociologically and beyond that, community is to be understood as those forms of human and absolutely peaceful and communally determined coexistence that are primarily emotionally determined by rules of togetherness of all participants and are relatively characterized by a duration whose existence is based on it lasting as long as the peaceful communal coexistence is consciously maintained. 3. The form of living together in a community requires a true honesty as well as a close familiarity, which relates to all different realms of life, as well as that common zela, common interests and values are striven for. The offices, duties, and so forth, given by the player and council, and just as much by the FIGU Association, concerning the permanent decisions of the Association of FIGU, are, according to the Council's resolution of 6th of July 2024, unalterably to be kept for all time, whereby, however, the presidency from now on has been determined to be a duration of 10 years and will be due for new election by the general meeting in January of the start of the next decade 2030-31st. Therefore, at that point in time, a new presidential election is to be carried out in order to rescind the previous one and, by means of a vote, to change and decide on another president with FIGU Association membership correctly through the voting of the general meeting. The current president is, according to the length of the period one can hold the office, obsolete and no longer has the right to be re-elected in 2030-31st. In regard to the rules that have been valid until now, from this point in time, from the 6th of July 2024, these new ordinances, already worked out by the player and council, are immediately valid and have to be set out as the introduction in front of the rules and statutes. Therefore, it concerns the following, which is to be presented with the special title.
Rules and observance of a FIGU Association, community, according to directives and explanations of the player and council.
1A. Every important matter and decision of every kind of a FIGU association community results exclusively through the decisions of the entire group, which in each case are to be recorded rightly by the Secretary and kept in this form as well as be accessible for examination at all times. 1B. The decisions of the Council are valid across the board immediately, from the 6th of July 2024, for all time in the future, and without the possibility of alteration, in order to secure the continuation of the FIGU Association as a community. 1C. A community exists throughout and without exception with the same rights and duties for every member. Consequently, no member of a community is arranged into any separate legislation. 1D. The members of a community are led absolutely neutrally in their thinking and acting as well as in absolutely all voting, conduct themselves in a completely nonpartisan form and support and represent the zeal of the community in this form, just as they always assess all occurring matters in a nonpartisan form and accept the full responsibility for that. 1E. In a community, it must not happen that a partisanship for a matter or a person is seized and exercised, because a community requires open trust, an absolutely neutral and nonpartisan behavior, and absolute honesty from every member. 1F. A community is to decide and assign a matter only through a general and unanimous vote, just as the fulfilling of duties is likewise to be determined, which are to be recorded in writing by the Secretary and in the same form handed out to those persons who are appointed through the community voting decision for the fulfillment of the tasks, directives assigned to them.
Special. Playarin. Council determinations for the ending of offices.
2A. The carrying out of the duties of any female or male person who is a president, secretary, or treasurer is to be ended immediately within a period of 1 month, if a non-suitability, serious offense against the fulfillment of Playarin Council resolutions, against duties determined by resolutions of the FIGU Association community, as well as against specially given directives of the Playarin Council, or a behavior of grabbing power over the FIGU Association or its FIGU members occurs. 2B. Persons who have become fallible or guilty while president, secretary, or treasurer do not have the right to be re-elected in one of these offices and duties. 2C. FIGU Association members who through wrong conduct and so forth, and according to unanimous voting of the FIGU community are excluded from it, can again, however, after a period of 7 years, and according to their assurance that they have set aside their faulty behavior, apply to be accepted, in which case the committee of the community has to make the decision and decide about a readmission.
Tasks. Work instructions. Errands of all kinds.
A. Particular tasks, work instructions, errands of all kinds, result exclusively through work meetings of the whole group of the FIGU Association. These shall be recorded in the minutes for inspection at any time. However, with that it must not be allowed that any individual persons, that is to say, community members, independently decree and decide on particular tasks, work instructions or errands, tasks and so forth, pertaining to a matter, because therethrough any long-term oversight, monitoring would be impossible. A. These particular tasks, work instructions, errands of all kinds, are to be confirmed in writing by the Secretary and delivered to the ones responsible for them. B. Particular carrying out of tasks, assignments, works, errands and so forth, which occur and have to be performed monthly, periodically, yearly, or every several years are mandatorily canvassed regarding a thorough discussion of the entire group regarding the how, what, where, when and why of their particular execution, so that everything is properly completed, executed according to rightness and goodness, and is recorded in the minutes for long-term inspection. Consequently, it can be viewed at any time. B. These particular tasks, work instructions and errands of all kinds have to be confirmed in writing by the Secretary and given to the ones responsible for them. C. Everyday occurring tasks, works and errands of all kinds and at any time of the year are to be executed according to their necessity, as well as according to the exact instruction of the ones who are responsible. Included in that are also the works and activities requiring execution which are assigned to the FIGU Association members of other FIGU Association groupings in FIGU Association offices, places, These works which are occurring all the time are consequently, according to their kind, not to be carried out by means of a decision of the entire group, rather according to necessity, and additionally are not to be recorded in the minutes, if exceptions do not arise that require a recording in the minutes, such as occurrences of damage, which have to be reported and their rectification arranged.
Procurements, orders purchasing, contracting for repairs as well as for works and their execution, quotes of prices and so forth.
A. Procuring, ordering, the purchasing of some or other things, wares, things of value and so forth, as well as the issuing of work orders of all kinds, as well as the registering, commissioning, that is to say, issuing of repair orders, belong in the realm of determination by the FIGU Association community, whose resolution has to be recorded in writing by the Secretary and given in writing to the FIGU Association member who's been assigned to carry it out. The arising invoices are to be made out to the FIGU Association. B. If some sort of damage is done to FIGU Association property, such as equipment and devices of some kind, and so forth, which must be quickly rectified, that is to say, repaired, then the entire committee is responsible for an appropriately correct decision and execution of the task. Whereby, however, the resolution must be recorded in writing by the Secretary and given in writing to the FIGU Association member assigned to attend to it. The arising invoices are to be made out to and paid by the FIGU Association. C. If point B is not fulfillable as a consequence of the impossibility of a meeting of the entire committee, then the Secretary, Treasurer, and the President are authorized to decide on the matter and make a decision which is to be recorded in writing and handed out. D. Individuals, that is to say, FIGU Association members, are not authorized to independently, arbitrarily carry out any procurements, orders, purchases of any items, goods, things of value and so forth in the name of the FIGU Association or with regard to its property without a committee approval in the form of a written instruction from the Secretary. Neither this nor the personal issuing of work instructions of any kind, the registration or commissioning of any activities as well as the issuing of repair orders and so forth for payment is permitted. However, if this is disregarded and nevertheless done contrary to the provision of the Plea and Council and its prohibition, then this person, that is to say the FIGU Association member, is personally obliged to pay the incurred expenses, costs, that is to say invoices.
Presidency.
1. The President, male or female, is responsible for overseeing the order as well as the decisions and election voting results of the FIGU Association community, and examining the correctness and completeness of their execution, whereby, however, the President must in every form have integrity, be impartial and fair, non-commanding and non-aggressive, and be free of any might-based mentality. 2. The President, female or male, henceforth may be elected only for a term of office of 10 years at each regular FIGU Association KG General Meeting, whereby the same President may be re-elected again after these 10 years, but effectively only by a new election and for a further term of office of a maximum of a further 10 years. However, with that it applies across the board with immediate effect that any presidency must be terminated immediately within 1 month if serious breaches of the duties of the presidential leadership occur. A. A third term of office as president shall no longer be permitted. Consequently, another person with FIGU Association membership shall be elected as president. 3. The president is excluded from any right to vote, and that is absolute, just as he or she is not entitled to advise or influence any vote. 4. Each president is prohibited from exercising any kind of might, and consequently he or she has no authority whatsoever to complain about or punish conscious or unconscious misconduct or mishaps, and so forth, of FIGU Association members in any wise, because such incidents should never be dealt with by the President in a partisan form, rather only by the entire committee or, if necessary, by the entire group without reproach. 5. The President shall never be authorized to issue any orders and instructions at his or her own discretion, nor to issue any regulations or independent provisions, nor to write or send any letters to the outside world that have not been decided, by means of a vote, by the general meeting of the FIGU Association, and have not been recorded in writing by the Secretary and documented in this form. 6. The President, male or female, is only authorized to act externally towards authorities, companies and private individuals and so forth, and to act as a representative of the FIGU Association community by name, in a comprehensive form if he or she has received the necessary written confirmation of the community resolution. 7. No president has any authority at all to give any orders and to determine any kind of personal modes of behavior of any FIGU Association member if there is no supporting document issued for that, written by the Secretary in accordance with an entire group resolution. 8. Each president is the mouthpiece and external representative on behalf of the FIGU Association for official matters, and so forth, as well as for other occurring important matters in regard to any institutions, courts, offices, and private persons. However, always only with a written supporting document from the Secretary, which without exception must be based on a round of voting, and consequently on an entire group resolution. 9. Solely the entire FIGU group, by means of the particular rounds of voting, the results of which have to be most precisely recorded in writing by the Secretary, has the right to lead and manage the FIGU Association in accordance with all its established guidelines of rules and statutes, whereby personal actions by the President are not allowed. 10. The entire group of the FIGU Association, that is to say, the FIGU Association community of the Mother Center, Hinter Schmidruti 1225, 8495 Schmidruti, is and remains at all times and in every respect the absolutely determining element of the FIGU Association community of the Center and the worldwide FIGU Association groupings, whereby that which is to be determined in each case is to take place exclusively through voting as a consequence of an entire group resolution, the result of which must be recorded most precisely and clearly in writing by the Secretary.
Regulations and decisions and management of the FIGU Association.
A. The management of the FIGU Association community is the sole responsibility of the group as a whole, and must be determined by unanimous voting, although abstentions are permitted and are to be valued as a neutral position. B. Leadership of the FIGU Association means that no form of hierarchy may exist or be created, because in every wise each FIGU grouping has to organize itself for anything and everything through a round of voting of the entire group and cooperate collectively according to this. Honesty in every form in this regard is based on a high degree of trust and in the abilities to be developed by each individual member of the FIGU Association. C. Regulations and resolutions and so forth of any kind are never to be passed and implemented by individual FIGU Association members, just as the management of the FIGU Association shall be conducted only in accordance with the regulations of the entire community. D. Responsible in remaining such for all and any regulations and every decision as well as for the management of the FIGU Association is the entire general meeting of the FIGU Association and its fair voting, the result of which shall be recorded in writing by the Secretary, and according to which the carrying out shall be loyally implemented by the persons of the FIGU Association assigned thereto.
Secretary, that is, the office of Secretary.
1. The Secretary is fully responsible for the overall compliance with resolutions passed by unanimous rounds of voting of the community as a whole. Abstentions are absolutely permissible. Consequently, the Secretary is responsible for all FIGU Association business decisions and compliance with them, and is therefore also equally responsible for the integrity of all FIGU Association principles and for ensuring that election decisions comply with the applicable legal provisions. Accordingly, the Secretary is responsible for ensuring that each resolution resulting from a vote is implemented such that each person who is assigned a specific task/execution/errand and so forth, as a result of a vote, is given this in writing, signed personally by the Secretary. 2. The Secretary, female or male, and indeed also the corresponding deputies, is responsible for all secretarial matters, and must most accurately record and archive all voting resolutions, results and so forth, in writing. 3. The Secretary is to be elected by the General Meeting for a term of 25 years, for life if requested, although re-election after the 25-year term shall be allowed. 4. Alternate activities of the secretaries at general meetings are permitted, whereby the secretary is relieved, however. In any case, the main secretary should exercise supervision. 5. Each secretary is bound to the special Play-R and Council Regulations 2A to 2C. Admissions and resignations of passive members of the FIGU Association and the compliance with their financial obligations must be carried out and overseen solely by the Treasurer. 1. In accordance with the regulations of the Play-R and Council, the Treasurer alone is fully responsible for any new admission or resignation of passive members.
Treasurer and Office of Treasurer.
1. The Treasurer, female or male, including the Deputy Treasurer, who is to be evaluated as having absolute integrity, must be elected by an entire general meeting. 2. The Treasurer to be elected must be appraised as having absolute integrity and be experienced and conscious of his or her responsibility, and is to be elected for a period of time of the Treasurer's own choosing. Consequently, this period can therefore be for life. 3. The Treasurer is the only person in possession of the key to the FIGU Association cash box safe, just as he or she is also the only one authorized to use it. 4. The Treasurer's deputy does not have his or her own key for the FIGU Association cash box safe and is only authorized to use it in the presence of the entire committee if he or she has to take over full representation in the absence of the regular Treasurer. 5. Any possible arising and necessary checks of cash balances, and so forth, if at all, must always be carried out by the entire committee, however never by a single committee member alone. 6. The Treasurer and the Deputy Treasurer is fully and comprehensively responsible for the correct management of the accounts and all arising settlements, payments of invoices for the FIGU Association. 7. Each Treasurer is subject to the special Play-R and Council Regulations 2A to 2C.
Accounting, letters, and so forth, of and for the attention of the FIGU Association.
A. Descriptions, plans, drafts and invoices of all kinds and so forth, which are intended for the FIGU Association, must be addressed exclusively and namelessly to FIGU, name of group, address of group, town of group B. Correspondence of all kinds and values for the FIGU Association is to be addressed excluding personnel and absolutely namelessly to the following: Ladies and gentlemen, sirs and madams of the community of FIGU, Free Community of Interests. Address C. The FIGU Association community has to authorize in writing, through the Secretary, FIGU Association members who are tasked and designated according to the voting, to name themselves by name or allow themselves to be named on the telephone or verbally, in order to be available for discussions, answers, instructions, and communication with unknown or known third persons or firms and so forth. However, there is no entitlement to be named privately in writing in connection with matters of the FIGU Association, which throughout should only be referred to as Ladies and gentlemen, sirs and madams FIGU, Free Community Universal, because in any things concerns of the FIGU Association community, only the FIGU Association community's determinations made as a result of voting, and with that the persons authorized through the unanimous voting decisions and the carrying out and completion of those in the name of the FIGU Association community, are responsible. However, never ever any individuals, that is to say, individual members of the FIGU Association community. D. Absolutely no matters and occurrences and so forth of a FIGU Association community are to be dealt with privately, rather always only in accordance with a group resolution given in writing by the Secretary and in the name of the FIGU Association community.
New admission of core group members and national group members and so forth.
1. A determination of the admission of members to a Kerngruppe or Landesgruppe and so forth is made by the respective entire committee of the FIGU Association grouping concerned, in which case a personal discussion shall first take place to clarify all the facts arising for and against as well as the motives, after which a 2-year probationary period shall take place on admission to a grouping as a FIGU Association member, after which only then shall a final admission take place, namely, if proof of effective suitability and noble reasons for the valuable interests of the FIGU Association exist.
Unauthorized actions and domination by FIGU members.
1. Unauthorized actions and written orders. Arrangements as well as changes and so forth outside the Association of FIGU and in the name of the Association of FIGU as according to art. 4. Of the President have no authorization. Rather, every action, order, and decision and so forth can only be rightful if a written secretarial document is given for it, which is based on an entire group decision. 2. No FIGU Association member is authorized to undertake, that is to say, carry out independent decisions or actions in the name of the FIGU Association without a written document from the Secretary, based on a clear resolution of the entire group. 3. A member of the FIGU Association voluntarily complies with the rules and regulations of the FIGU Association. Meanwhile, however, the personal private sphere and social individualities remain protected and respected. 4. No FIGU Association member, regardless of which grouping, has the right to rule over the FIGU Association, or a member of the FIGU Association, or to otherwise exercise might, because each member has to be free to decide and act and have free will in every regard.
Private matters.
A. Private matters of any kind are and remain private and are to be treated as such. Consequently, such matters are never to be mixed with matters of the FIGU Association or otherwise to be sorted out or dealt with by the FIGU Association.
Assets.
1. Savings Association assets should never be collected as such in order to spend them. That is to say, use them because they are available, and should never only be uselessly reduced for this reason. Such a mode of thinking and acting regarding the administration of Savings Association assets does not only correspond to irresponsibility, because assets are effectively only to be used for absolute necessities, in which case a necessary incidental amount for the acquisition, that is to say, production of incidental issues, expenses, and necessities equals for concerns and requirements for the preservation or further development of the FIGU Association and its belongings, and the payment of the invoice must be unanimously approved by a rightfully conducted round of voting of the entire general meeting. A corresponding resolution from the voting must then be clarifyingly and precisely recorded in writing by the Secretary and handed over to the Treasurer for payment completion when it has been carried out, and the decision of the voting resolution has been fulfilled. 2. Nonsensical changes that do not consider the future as well as unnecessary changes to or in the buildings of the Center or other FIGU Association buildings elsewhere should never lead to assets being squandered. 3. The assets accumulated to date still require a massive increase, as the FIGU Parent Center Association will need more assets in the future.
Then I still have to answer your question, which relates to the new admission of core group members.
Special note of the plea are in council.
It has already been decided by the members of the FIGU Association that all admissions of new core group members into the FIGU Association community will be clarified, handled and determined solely by the committee, after which, 2 years later, confirmed admission into the FIGU Association, or rejection by the complete entire community where possible, will be made by means of unanimous voting resolution. In which case the general behavior, the seriousness regarding the application of the teaching as well as the commitment regarding the fulfillment of duty and so forth, is to be decisively evaluated. In relation to this also see
New admission of Kerngruppe members and Landesgruppe members, and so forth.
1. A determination of the admission of members to a Kerngruppe or Landesgruppe and so forth shall be made by the respective entire committee of the FIGU Association grouping concerned, whereby a personal discussion shall first take place to clarify all the facts arising for and against as well as the motives, after which a 2-year probationary period shall take place for admission to a grouping as a FIGU Association member, after which final admission shall only take place if proof of effective suitability and noble reasons for the valuable interests of the FIGU Association exist.
Altogether, these are the alterations and directives of the Council. which henceforth are valid for all time in the future and serve the protection and the good maintenance of the FIGU Association community at all times. In addition, the Playaran Council reserves the right, in the event of disagreements, to issue well-considered decrees and resolutions which should be followed in the future by the FIGU Association for its future permanence.
The new alterations are quite steep, but I do not have to think about them first to recognize their necessity.
Then I have therewith fulfilled my assigned duty for today, after which we will meet again when the Playaran Council mandates that the visits are beneficial to your health again. In particular, Arlion and his crew's efforts will be important, which can under some circumstances take several months to clear up. But now I have to go again. Goodbye, dear Edward, my dear and good friend. But we will stay in touch, even if we cannot see each other in person.